I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is no stranger to us, and that is Kathlyne Sheppard, who was born in Ocala. She is the descendant of the largest native pioneer family, the McDonald clan, in the big scrub of the Ocala National Forest. She went to the University of Florida, where she got a fine arts degree, did work in design, and then retired, and now volunteers both with McIntosh and Marion County organizations. She was elected to our Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings Farm Board of Trustees in 2021, and recently won the DAR Historic, I wrote this down all wrong, Preservation Recognition Award for work on From Novel to Movie, the Yearling in Florida. And many of us saw that, and I believe, is that for sale today? Do we have any of those? If it's not, you can buy it on the Friends of the Farm website. I know that. And today, Kathlyne Sheppard is going to be presenting to us on a short film that she made based on the life of Ora Baxter from the Yearling. So Kathlyne, come on up.
Good morning. I hope all of you can hear me well. It's an honor to be here and to celebrate Miss Rawlings' work, which has affected my life tremendously. She told you about my family, and like many settlers, they came from the Carolinas by way of Georgia to Central Florida, and they settled east of the Ocala River in the Ocala National Forest. And they were known as authentic Florida crackers. They were natural storytellers who sounded like Southern cornbread. And they scratched out a living, trapping, hunting, growing their food, living off the land. And in the beginning, the first ones were as poor as Job's turkey. Born in 1945, the year of the Yearling movie, I was surrounded by 11 sets of aunts and uncles and neighbors, many of whom shared stories or worked on the Yearling movie. That was unique for my life. My only sister had married Jack Owen, who was the fawn catcher for the deer used in the film. As a 9-year-old reader of the Yearling novel, the story gave me an imaginary life long before I ever saw the movie. I peeked over Jody's shoulder as he daydreamed, played with Uncle Son's flutter mill in the waters at the glen, frolicked through the palmettos and the pines with Claude and Cousin Bobby, and sobbed my way through Jody's rage when he was forced to kill his pet deer. Our family settled in a remote area near 3 lakes, near Grahamville, which Marjorie writes about, now known as Cedar Creek. It's between Silver Springs and Salt Springs, 25 miles from anything. No hospitals, doctors, pharmacies, fire departments, or supply sources existed. We foraged, propagated, and enjoyed fruit from native trees. There were pear, plum, persimmon, and citrus. Mama filled mason jars with jam and pear sauce. If you haven't had Florida pineapple pear sauce, you have not lived. Everything came from what we grew. Daddy's grapevine in the backyard and all those fruit trees. We grew a large garden out by the pine grove, and Mama kept chickens. There were hogs in the pen and a smokehouse filled with hanging bacon and hams. Our neighbor, Margie Kinsey, owned a milk cow, and she supplied us with fresh butter. We had a 2-seater outhouse and a Sears Roebuck catalog until I was 5. The Iceman delivered a weekly block. A local neighbor ground our corn into meal and grits. Our family trapped, gigged, fished the runs, the Ocklawaha, and Lake George. My Peebles family, another large family, continue this tradition today. They boil cane every Thanksgiving and boil it into syrup. We made our living. In fact, we made everything, or we traded for it. I treasure a few family keepsakes from those times. The fawn catcher's antler collection is one of them. Mother's cobalt washboard, her battling stick, used to punch the clothes in the big black boiling pot. And on summer evenings and in really hot weather, you would find me bathing in a galvanized wash tub on the back porch. It now holds potting soil. As a young child, I drank water from a tin cup, the water primed by a hand pump, from our well that was hand dug by my daddy and Uncle Walter. The tin dipper hung from, for my sister, a wooden bucket, and later, 20 years later, it was a galvanized bucket. Before indoor plumbing was installed, I bathed in that number 3 galvanized wash tub on the back porch. Cousin Marie has the last 5-gallon moonshine jug that the revenues failed to destroy during the 30s. Yes, my family were moonshiners. She has Uncle Shorty's spatterware plate that Aunt Grace nailed to a pine tree at the last family picnic back at the wash pond. That dinner was held just before Uncle Shorty and Uncle Buck went to defend our country in World War II. Aunt Grace sent family to the woods several years later to remove it when the uncles finally returned safely from fighting the Japanese. Marjorie's writing was based on research from real pioneer lives like these in the 30s. From her relationships with them, she learned to understand and write their cracker cornbread dialect. While it confounded some readers, it enchanted me, for these are my people. MGM charmed viewers with the Big Scrub's stunning beauty and the film's musical score. Both the Yearling novel and movie continue to attract worldwide readers today. I even have a Korean copy of the movie. Each spring, my youngest son, Clay Walkup, teaches the novel as literature to his 6th grade class in Ocala at Ambleside Christian School. I recently asked my 12-year-old daughter Eloise what part Dad was reading to them from the book. She said, "Where Jody's friend Fodderwing dies." And Dad cried again when reading that he passed. Her words bring emotion to the reader. Her novels bore witness of the 1930s Depression era, just as Stephen Foster's song had. Remember the song "Hard Times Come Again No More"? Just as in the 1850s when Florida was being settled, but the hard times still lingered around our cabin doors in the deep woods. The documentary that Donna Townsend and I co-produced revealed a common thread of suffering, loss, difficulty in every family that we interviewed. The same adversities were found in genealogical research of my great-grandmother, Nancy Lenora Sewell. Fire, disease, storms, accidents, death. Those same miseries appeared in my MacDonald and Sewell family census documents and helped to birth Ora's deep lament. The deep connections and mutual need of each, shared between mankind, animals, and nature, is unmistakable. Without medical facilities in the secluded area, there were only natural remedies for treatment. Some Florida areas had the benefit of a traveling doctor on horseback who moved area to area. One such man was Dr. Henry Paramore, East Marion's first pioneer doctor who settled near our home place after the Civil War. He married my great-grandfather's daughter, Anna A. McDonald, and they established a homestead on Paramore Prairie. Paramore Prairie was where my grandmother and all the children went to do the laundry. She would wash on a wash tub with one of those galvanized buckets, and then all the children would be handed the clothes to walk out into the pond and rinse them, return them to her, and they were hung on shrubs in the area to dry. Dr. Paramore practiced medicine by horseback and buggy, but died at the young age of 48. His son, George Brinson Paramore, practiced medicine first by buggy and later by Model T from the Fort McCoy, Eureka area until he died at age 59. Historically, child mortality in the 19th century was at 50%. Today, it's at 4%. Isolated people relied completely on natural home remedies from the environment. Turpentine, kerosene for topically treating wounds, infection, and parasite bites. Turpentine was combined with bear or hog fat and applied to the chest or the soles of the feet for winter colds. Often a drop of turpentine was placed on a sugar cube and used for treatment of worms. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Kerosene was also used to treat a sore throat. I can't imagine this. My Uncle Joe compounded a natural salve from his Lake Joe environment that all the family used. While the recipe, the original one, is unknown, we know elements that were in it. Lard or beef fat, beeswax or honey, leaves, bark, herbs, and berries. The forest is blessed with berries, many types. They grow in the hammocks: beautyberry, blackberry, blueberry, elderberry, gallberry, mulberry, spockerberry, and there are even more. In lieu of medications, dried or freshly ground leaves or berries were used to make infusions or teas. Some East Marion friends today still steep pine needles, adding sugar, freshly squeezed lemon juice, and then make a winter tonic that tastes like Sprite and contains 5 times the amount of vitamin C in orange juice. It's rather tasty. The Grahamville community, and Marjorie mentions Grahamville very many times in her books, looked to my great-grandmother, Nancy Lenora Sewell, to tend sick folks. And when death occurred, she would return to prepare and dress the body for the wake, which was by necessity held in the home before burial. She sewed a muslin shroud for the burial process, and years later, my mother, known as Aunt Sis, did burial sewing for young children who passed away. Grandma Sewell was the female embodiment of profound courage and fortitude. In 1904, she buried 5 of her 8 children to one disease, typhus. That disease comes from fleas, lice, and chiggers, the latter of which were abundant in the forest. Despite her personal tragedy, she moved in with her widowed son-in-law and cared for her daughter's 3 little children for 2.5 years until he found a second wife. Grandma Sewell's family home was destroyed by fire. That was another major risk to pioneers in the forest. Only a charred orange wood table and her little black memorandum book survived. As hospitals were built and medical care progressed, our family's next generation fared better despite disease. My grandmother caught tuberculosis. My father got malaria. My mother caught diphtheria, but all survived. I caught whooping cough, measles, mumps, but without long-term effects. By 1925, home births were still common. Dr. Ferguson came from Fort McCoy to our home and delivered my only sister. About 19 years later, when my parents owned modern vehicles, I was born at Munn Regional Hospital in Ocala. Lack of attention in county funds slowed development of East Marion's community and also its school system. The county focused on building Ocala economically so that historically few resources have reached areas across the river. While 19th century infant mortalities were already high, the 1928 Spanish flu epidemic infected 1/3 of the global population. As cities developed, though, health departments and progress came to communities, but not in our region. Eventually, we had a traveling nurse at East Marion School when I was a child, but the slow progress imposed by the Depression had not helped Marjorie's faraway friends. Marjorie's language in Cross Creek revealed that she saw untreated mental illness, women give birth without medical attention or care. She saw the effects of alcohol addiction and death occur at all ages. In researching South Moon Under, she met the Fidia family, which led to meeting Calvin Long and then his brother Melvin, who had the pet deer, which became the real inspiration for the Yearling novel. She lived with the Fidia family at Hog Valley near Eureka for 2.5 months. There she watched a rattlesnake crawl through the house and watched firsthand the risk from living so close to nature. Marjorie cared for that family, as photos and keepsakes later reveal. She wrote the following to her editor, Maxwell Perkins. I was astonished by the utter lack of bleakness or despair in a group living momentarily on the very edge of starvation and danger. I found a zestfulness in living, a humor, and alertness to beauty. In the Yearling, Pa Baxter responded to a rattlesnake bite by using his hunting knife to make an X incision on the affected area, extracted the venom orally, and subsequently applied the raw heart and liver from a doe deer that he had shot nearby. As a result of this incident, Jody discovered a young fawn in the nearby palmetto thicket. However, this story poses a challenge for today's readers, since snake venom immediately enters the bloodstream. This bite treatment was purely a myth and was debunked by medical science. It didn't cure a thing, but it sure inspired good fiction. While Marjorie steadily typed from her screen porch, she made time for her neighbors and big scrub friends. As her manuscripts show, what affected them touched her heart. The Phidias 5-year-old's Gracie contracted leukemia caused by weakness from measles, and Marjorie often visited the family. She offered to give blood for Gracie's transfusions, but her blood type was not a match. Dr. Strange, my Macintosh neighbor in the 60s and 70s, treated Gracie in his home hospital, but the child eventually died. Marjorie supported them with flowers, attended the funeral, and carried them a full Christmas dinner. And if you're looking at the slide, Marie and Lester on the left side are family of mine. In the Yearling narrative, life lived deep in the forest was both a blessing and a threat to the foresters. And I'm talking about the Forester family in the Yearling novel. Jody's best friend, Fodderwing, was born with a hunched and twisted body. Penny Baxter described Fodderwing as tetched. He died from injuries sustained after jumping off a roof as he attempted to fly, like the birds that charmed him. Though he named Jody's pet fawn Flag because of the little white tail held high, the crippled boy died before he ever got to meet the deer. Fodderwing's death shook them all, but after they and Jody sat vigil with his body, the Foresters and Baxters took his death in stride, almost as if they had expected it. In the verses and chorus of Ora's Deep Lament, Marjorie's character, Ora, often visits her children's 5 crudely marked graves and places wildflowers there. Her enormous loss and unresolved sorrow had manifested in raring, R-A-R-I-N-G. Jody used the word to describe his ma's stern behavior, which really was a repressed grief. It was love and longing with no place to land. It had produced bitterness. Joe and Pa had each other and farm animals for distraction and companionship. Far away on Pat's Island, Ma had nothing but hardship, hammocks, and hounds. Those long days and dark nights held little relief from pain and tribulation. Such was the life of my great-grandmother, Nancy Lenora Sewell. Among my mother's keepsakes, I found her little black memorandum book. And with the help of Ancestry and Find a Grave, I located the Granville graves during the documentary process. While the Old Pine Methodist Church had long ago burned to the ground, the cemetery remained and was cared for by a neighbor. Though many grave markers had been vandalized years earlier, one Sewell headstone remained. A group of family descendants had installed a large common granite marker, which is engraved with the Sewell family names and others buried nearby. Grandma Sewell's little black book bridged 122 years of family history and connected me to all the predeceased family. In June of 2022, inspired by Marjorie's storytelling, I penned Aura's Deep Lament. This poem expresses long and longing and loss, acknowledges the connection between humans, creatures, and nature, and the depth of our need for comfort and for each other. Big scrub families cared for neighbors, supported each other in trials, and joined each other on massive tasks. I often wonder if East Marion County's cracker heritage would have been documented had Marjorie not written the Yearling in their cornbread dialect. Except for the Big Scrub Fire of 1935 that destroyed 35,000 acres in 4 hours, the film is the most remembered and revered event in the area. As a side note, some East Marion families connected to the making of it actually show the Yearling silenced in the background at services. Marjorie's ability to write the cracker language is problematic for some readers, however. A few have said to me, I couldn't understand what she meant. But having descended from remnant old Florida folks and having spent 60 summers in the Western Carolina hills and hollers, Aura flowed from me. Fueled by Aura's character, inspired by the language, and great-grandma Sewell's extreme loss, their stories gently wove together and birthed the lament. Grandma Sewell's real loss, mirrored by Aura's fictional loss, though creative license calls for the listener to use a little imagination, Flag's mother here is the spirit deer who watches Aura from the hill each night. But that was no issue for the Long families or for any of us scrub kids who frolic like Jody through the palmettos. Reality has always inspired fiction and storytelling. Marjorie's lyrical words draw language lovers. And though painfully produced, she would write and write and write, throw papers away, and keep maybe 2 out of 8 in a good day. These words seem to flow from her pen as easily as the waters from the glen. So please watch Aura's Deep Lament, where fiction, truth, and the past mingle in melody and metered time, and the providence of nature mercilessly surrounds all. And just as the fiddle cannot play with the bow, I must thank Donna for her efforts in merging her photos and my family photos so that this makes more sense to you.
She laid her babes 'neath sandy soil among the pines so tall. Their hands she folded o'er each breast. angels hovered over them, she sang this woeful song. And off she wept, and there did trod the path that sorrow made. Among the ferns she took her pause and prayed for ease of heart. She did recall each tiny soul and spake each born a name. The wildflowers, she laid them down, she laid them gently down. There was no choir nor epithet, no life they could exalt. There only was one comfort known in this vast wilderness. As eagles soared high in the sky above the cabin blue, the black crow called his morning cry, while the lonely whippoorwill sang. And each dark night a doe comes near and searches for her fawn. And from the glen to Pat's Island, 'neath blackjack, pine, and oak, two mothers guard their sleeping babes, so young, so sweet, so still. Creation groans while swells the song of Aura's deep lament. And off she went, and there did trod the path that sorrow made. Among the ferns she took her pause and prayed for ease of